You're born underwater, trapped inside an egg no bigger than a pinhead. The water around you is murky, filled with debris and tiny particles drifting past like snow in slow motion. You can't see much yet, but you can feel everything. The gentle current pushing against your fragile shell, the vibrations of other creatures moving nearby, the constant pressure of the water above you. Your mother dropped you here weeks ago, along with hundreds of your siblings, before disappearing forever. She didn't stick around to see what would happen next. That's not how this works. Inside the egg, your body is already taking shape. You're not going to look anything like the creature you'll eventually become. Right now, you're something else entirely, something built for a completely different world. Your gills are forming, your legs are sprouting, and your eyes are developing into compound structures that will let you see in ways most creatures can't imagine. But none of that matters yet, because you're still stuck inside this shell, waiting for the moment when everything changes. Then it happens. The shell cracks, and water rushes in. You push forward, using muscles you've never used before, breaking free from the only home you've ever known. The world outside is vast and terrifying. You're a nymph now, and this underwater realm is where you'll spend most of your life. You don't know it yet, but you've got years ahead of you down here, hunting and growing and molting and surviving in a world that wants to eat you. Your first instinct is simple: hide. You're tiny, vulnerable, and everything around you is bigger and hungrier than you are. You crawl along the muddy bottom, using your 6 legs to grip onto whatever you can find. A piece of rotting wood becomes your shelter. You press yourself against it, trying to become invisible. The water is cold, but you don't have a choice. This is home now. Hunger hits you almost immediately. You've never eaten before, but your body knows what to do. Your eyes scan the water around you, searching for movement. There, a tiny creature even smaller than you, drifting past like it owns the place. You don't think about it. You just react. Your lower jaw shoots forward like a spring-loaded trap, extending far beyond what seems possible. It's called a labium, and it's your secret weapon. The small creature doesn't even see it coming. Your jaw clamps down, pulls it back to your mouth, and you swallow it whole. That's your first kill, but it won't be your last. In fact, it's just the beginning of what will become a years-long hunting spree. You're not just any predator. You're one of the most efficient killers in the underwater world. Your jaw can extend to nearly a third of your body length, and it moves faster than most creatures can react. You don't chase your prey. You wait for it to come to you, then strike with precision that would make a sniper jealous. The pond you live in is crowded. There are thousands of other creatures here, all trying to survive, all trying to eat each other. You learn quickly which ones to avoid and which ones to hunt. The water fleas are easy targets, slow, predictable, basically floating snacks. The mosquito larvae are trickier. They move in quick bursts, but if you time it right, they're yours. The small fish fry that occasionally swim too close, they're a feast worth waiting for, but you're not the only predator here. There are fish that would love to make you their next meal, diving beetles with jaws that could cut you in half, and water bugs that inject venom into their prey. You learn to read the water, to feel the vibrations that tell you when danger is approaching. When a fish swims overhead, casting its shadow across the bottom, you freeze. When you sense the rapid movements of a diving beetle, you retreat deeper into the mud. Weeks pass, and you feel your skin getting tight. It's uncomfortable, like wearing clothes that are too small. The pressure builds until it becomes unbearable. Then something amazing happens. Your skin splits open down your back, and you climb out of it like it's an old coat. You've just molted for the first time, and suddenly you're bigger, stronger, more capable. The old exoskeleton drifts away in the current, and you're left with a new body that fits properly. This will happen over and over again throughout your life underwater. Each time you molt, you get larger, your hunting skills improve, and your confidence grows. By your third molt, you're no longer hiding from every shadow. By your fifth, you're actively hunting creatures that once seemed impossibly large. By your 10th, you're one of the apex predators in your small section of the pond. Your hunting technique becomes more sophisticated with each passing month. You learn to bury yourself in the mud with only your eyes visible, waiting like a living trap for unsuspecting prey to wander within range. You discover that certain spots in the pond are better than others, near fallen branches where small creatures like to hide, or in shallow areas where the water is warmer and more active. You develop patience that would put a monk to shame, sitting motionless for hours until the perfect target presents itself. Then there are the mosquito larvae. They're everywhere during certain times of the year, hanging upside down from the surface of the water, breathing through tiny tubes. They think they're safe up there, but they're wrong. You've learned to approach from below, moving slowly and carefully until you're directly underneath one. Then, with lightning speed, your labium shoots upward, snatching the larva from its breathing position and dragging it down to become your next meal. The pond changes with the seasons, and you change with it. During the warm months, life is abundant. There's food everywhere, and the water is comfortable. You grow rapidly, molting every few weeks as your body demands more space. But when the cold comes, everything slows down. The water temperature drops, your metabolism decreases, and food becomes scarce. You dig deeper into the mud, entering a state that's not quite hibernation, but close to it. You can go weeks without eating, your body surviving on stored energy while you wait for warmer times to return. Winter underwater is a different world entirely. The surface of the pond might freeze over, cutting off the connection to the air above. Ice crystals form in the shallow areas, and many of the creatures you're used to hunting either die off or enter their own dormant states. You become even more patient, even more careful. Every movement costs energy you can't afford to waste, and every missed strike could mean the difference between surviving until spring or becoming part of the food chain yourself. During these cold months, you encounter other nymphs like yourself. Sometimes you coexist peacefully, each of you focused on your own survival, but sometimes hunger makes the decision for you. Another nymph, perhaps one that molted at the wrong time and ended up smaller than you, becomes just another source of food. You don't feel guilt about it. That's not how your brain works. You feel hunger, you see opportunity, and you act. It's that simple. Spring brings a renaissance to your underwater world. The ice melts, the water warms, and suddenly there's food everywhere again. Your metabolism kicks back into high gear, and you resume your regular molting schedule. But something else is happening too, something you don't understand yet, but can feel in your body. You're approaching your final molt, the one that will change everything about who you are and where you belong. Your hunting becomes more aggressive as you prepare for this transformation. You need protein, lots of it, to fuel the incredible changes your body is about to undergo. You take bigger risks, going after larger prey that you might have avoided before. A tadpole that's almost as big as you are? You'll try for it. A small fish that's swimming a little too close to the bottom? Why not take a shot? You're building up reserves for the most important moment of your life, even though you have no idea what's coming. The water around you is teeming with life as spring progresses into early summer. New batches of mosquito larvae appear almost daily. Water fleas multiply in countless numbers. Small fish fry swim in schools near the shallow areas. For a predator like you, it's like living in an all-you-can-eat buffet. You take advantage of every opportunity, your labium shooting out dozens of times each day as you pack away as much nutrition as possible. But there are signs that your time underwater is coming to an end. Your body feels different, heavier somehow, and filled with an energy you've never experienced before. Your gills, which have served you faithfully for years, seem less efficient than they used to be. You find yourself drawn to the shallower areas of the pond, places where the water meets the air. You don't know why yet, but something deep in your genetic programming is telling you that a change is coming. Your siblings, the ones who survived the gauntlet of underwater predators, disease, and starvation, are going through the same transformation. Some of them have already disappeared from the depths, moving toward the surface for reasons none of you fully understand. It's an instinct older than consciousness, a biological imperative that's been guiding your species for millions of years. The final weeks of your underwater life are intense. You're eating constantly, molting one last time to reach your maximum size as a nymph. Your body is preparing for something unprecedented, a complete transformation that will turn you from an aquatic predator into something that belongs to the air. Your wing buds, which have been growing larger with each molt, are now prominent features on your back. They're still useless for flying, but they're getting ready for their moment. Then one morning, everything changes. You feel it before you understand it. A restlessness that goes deeper than hunger, stronger than any instinct you've known. Your body knows what's coming, even if your mind doesn't. You start moving toward the surface, leaving behind the muddy depths that have been your world for 2 years. The water above you gets brighter as you climb, and for the first time in your life, you can see the boundary between water and air. You find a sturdy plant stem that reaches from the bottom all the way to the surface. Your legs grip it tightly as you begin the most dangerous journey of your life. Every inch you climb takes you further from safety and closer to something completely unknown. Fish patrol these middle waters, and they're bigger than anything you've faced before. A base could swallow you whole without even slowing down, but you can't stop now. Something inside you won't let you. The climb takes hours. Your gills are working harder as you move into warmer water near the surface. The pressure decreases with every foot you ascend, and your body starts to feel strange, almost weightless. You pass through layers of water that feel different, warmer here, cooler there, each one holding different scents and different dangers. Other creatures watch you pass, probably wondering why a bottom dweller like you is heading toward the surface. Then you break through. Your head emerges from the water for the first time, and suddenly you're breathing air. It's nothing like the water breathing you've done your entire life. Air rushes into new chambers in your body, chambers that have been waiting dormant for this exact moment. The sensation is overwhelming. Too much oxygen, too much sensation, too much everything. But your body adapts quickly, switching from gills to a completely different respiratory system in a matter of minutes. You pull yourself completely out of the water, clinging to the plant stem with all 6 legs. The world above the surface is impossibly huge and bright. The sun burns your eyes, which have never experienced direct light before. Everything is sharp and clear in a way that the underwater vision never was. You can see colors you didn't know existed, details that seem almost too intense to process. The air moves against your wet skin, creating sensations you have no reference for. This is the most vulnerable you'll ever be. Your body is soft from the journey. Your reflexes are confused by this new environment, and you have no idea how to survive here. Birds circle overhead, predators you've never had to worry about before. Flying insects buzz past, and you instinctively try to strike at them with your labium before remembering that you're no longer in the water. Nothing works the same way up here. You need to find a safe place to complete your transformation, and you need to find it fast. Your body is already starting the process, whether you're ready or not. You can feel your skin beginning to loosen, just like before a molt, but this time it's different. This time, everything is going to change. You crawl higher up the stem, looking for a spot that's stable and protected. Every movement is exhausting in this new, gravity-heavy world. Then you find it, a cluster of leaves that creates a small shelter. You position yourself carefully, gripping with all your legs, and wait for what comes next. Your skin starts to split along your back, but instead of another nymph emerging, something completely different begins to unfold. Wings, real wings, start to push their way out of your old body. They're crumpled and soft at first, like wet paper, but they begin to expand as fluid pumps through their veins. The transformation takes hours. Your entire body reshapes itself as you watch. Your gills seal shut permanently, replaced by the air-breathing system that's now fully activated. Your eyes become even more complex, gaining the ability to see polarized light and detect the tiniest movements across vast distances. Your digestive system changes to handle a completely different diet. Even your brain rewires itself, trading underwater instincts for aerial ones. Your wings are the most dramatic change. They stretch out on either side of your body, transparent membranes supported by a network of veins. They're huge compared to your body size, each one longer than you are. They shimmer in the sunlight, creating rainbow patterns as they catch the light. But they're still soft, still vulnerable. You need time for them to harden before you can use them. As your wings dry and strengthen, you start to understand what you've become. You're no longer the patient ambush predator you were underwater. You're something built for speed, for precision, for a kind of hunting that happens in 3 dimensions. Your eyes can now track multiple objects at once. Your reflexes have increased tenfold, and your body has become a perfect flying machine. The first time you try to move your wings, nothing happens. They're too heavy, too unfamiliar. You can barely lift them off your back. But gradually, as the hours pass and they continue to harden, you start to gain control. A slight twitch becomes a small flutter. A flutter becomes a deliberate movement. You're learning to operate a completely new body, and it's both terrifying and exhilarating. When you finally feel ready to test your wings properly, you spread them wide and give them a tentative beat. The sensation is incredible. You can feel the air pushing against them, creating lift. Another beat, stronger this time, and your feet actually leave the plant stem for a split second. You're flying, or at least trying to. It's clumsy and uncertain, but it's definitely flying. Your first real flight is more of a controlled crash. You launch yourself from the plant stem with more enthusiasm than skill, your wings beating frantically as you try to figure out how to stay airborne. You manage maybe 10 feet before gravity wins, and you tumble toward the water. But something clicks at the last second. Your wings find their rhythm, and you pull up just before hitting the surface. You're flying for real now, wobbly and uncertain, but actually flying. The world looks completely different from up here. The pond that was your entire universe is just a small patch of water surrounded by an enormous landscape. There are other ponds, streams, fields, forests, an entire world you never knew existed. The perspective is dizzying and overwhelming, but also exciting. You have access to all of this now. The whole world is your hunting ground, but flying is exhausting, and you're still figuring out the basics. You need to land, to rest, to process everything that's happened to you. You aim for a reed at the edge of the pond, the same kind of plant you climbed to reach the surface. Landing is even harder than taking off. You come in too fast, misjudge the distance, and crash into the plant stem with enough force to nearly knock yourself back into the water. But you manage to grab on, and suddenly you're perched above the water, like you've seen other flying insects do countless times. Your body is completely different now, but your hunger remains the same. In fact, it's stronger than ever. The transformation took enormous amounts of energy, and flying burns calories at a rate you never experienced underwater. You need food, and you need it soon. But your hunting style has to change completely. No more patient waiting in the mud. No more ambush attacks with your extending jaw. You're an aerial predator now, and that means learning entirely new skills. Your first target is a mosquito that's flying lazily near the water's surface. You watch it for a moment, trying to calculate its speed and direction. Then you launch yourself into the air, wings beating rapidly as you try to intercept it. You miss completely, flying right past it, while it continues on its way, probably unaware that it was even being hunted. Aerial hunting is going to be much harder than you thought. But you're a quick learner, and you have millions of years of evolution guiding your instincts. Your second attempt is better. You anticipate where the mosquito will be instead of where it is. Your third attempt is better still. By your 10th try, you manage to snatch a small flying insect right out of the air, your jaws clamping down on it before your brain even fully processes what happened. You're starting to get the hang of this new way of hunting. The mechanics of aerial hunting are completely different from anything you knew underwater. You have to judge distances in 3 dimensions, account for wind and air currents, and coordinate your flight path with your prey's movement patterns. Your compound eyes are perfect for this kind of hunting. They can detect the slightest movement and track multiple targets simultaneously. But translating what you see into successful hunts takes practice. You discover that different types of prey require different strategies. Small gnats and midges can be caught with quick, darting attacks. Larger flies need more strategic approaches. You have to get above them and dive down, using gravity to add speed to your strike. Mosquitoes are tricky because they're erratic flyers, changing directions suddenly and without warning, but they're also relatively slow, so once you learn to anticipate their movements, they become easy targets. Your hunting grounds extend far beyond the pond now. You can fly over fields where clouds of insects hover above the grass. You can patrol streams where mayflies dance in mating swarms. You can even venture into forests where shafts of sunlight create aerial highways filled with flying food. The abundance is incredible compared to the limited hunting opportunities you had underwater. But the aerial world has its own dangers. Birds are everywhere, and they're much better flyers than you are. Hawks circle high above, scanning for exactly the kind of meal you represent. Swallows dart through the air at incredible speeds, snatching insects with precision that makes your own hunting look clumsy. Even smaller birds like flycatchers pose a threat. They specialize in catching flying insects, and you're definitely a flying insect now. You learn to watch the skies constantly while you hunt. A shadow passing overhead could mean death, so you develop the ability to drop toward the water in an instant, using the surface as cover. You discover that flying low, just inches above the water, makes you harder for birds to spot and catch. You also learn to recognize the flight patterns of different predators and adjust your behavior accordingly. Your aerial hunting improves rapidly over the next few days. You've figured out how to use your incredible speed. You can fly at nearly 30 miles per hour when you need to your advantage. Most flying insects simply can't react fast enough when you come at them from the right angle. Your compound eyes, with their thousands of individual lenses, let you see almost everything around you at once. You can spot a mosquito behind you while tracking a fly in front of you, all while keeping an eye on potential bird threats overhead. The hunting is unlike anything you experienced underwater. There's no waiting, no patience required. Everything happens in seconds or less. You spot your target, calculate its trajectory, accelerate to intercept, and strike, all in one fluid motion. When you miss, which still happens more often than you'd like, you can usually circle back for another attempt. The three-dimensional nature of aerial hunting means there are always multiple angles of attack. You've also discovered something amazing about your new body. You don't just fly, you hover. You can stop midair and hang motionless like a tiny helicopter, your wings beating so fast they're just a blur. This ability makes you incredibly versatile. You can hover above a swarm of gnats and pick them off one by one, or hang in place near a flower where bees are working, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But hovering burns energy at an incredible rate. Your wings have to beat nearly 2,000 times per minute to keep you stationary in the air. It's like sprinting while standing still. You can only maintain it for short bursts before you need to land and rest. This is when you're most vulnerable, when you're tired and need to recover, but can't afford to let your guard down. Your body is a marvel of engineering that you're only beginning to understand. Your wings aren't just for flying, they're also incredibly sensitive instruments. You can feel the slightest changes in air pressure, detect wind shifts before they happen, and even sense the wing beats of other insects from surprising distances. Sometimes you know another dragonfly is approaching before you can see it, just from the vibrations its wings create in the air. The first time you encounter another adult dragonfly, you're not sure what to expect. You've never seen one of your own kind before, at least not in this form. It's larger than you, with wings that span nearly 6 inches, and it moves through the air with a confidence that makes your own flying look amateur. When it spots you, it doesn't attack or flee. Instead, it simply changes course and flies away, as if you're not worth its attention. You follow it, curious about this creature that looks like a larger version of yourself. It leads you to a section of the pond you've never explored, where the water is deeper and clearer. There are plants here you don't recognize, and the insect life is different too. The larger dragonfly begins hunting, and you watch in fascination as it demonstrates techniques you haven't learned yet. It doesn't just chase its prey, it predicts where the prey will be and positions itself accordingly. When a fly changes direction suddenly, the larger dragonfly has already compensated for the move. It's like watching a master at work, and you realize how much you still have to learn about aerial hunting. You try to copy its movements, but your attempts are clumsy compared to its fluid precision. The larger dragonfly tolerates your presence for a while, but eventually it turns toward you with what you can only interpret as annoyance. It flies directly at you, not to attack, but to deliver a clear message. This is its territory, and you need to find your own. You don't argue. You're still learning the social rules of this aerial world, but territorial disputes are apparently part of it. You return to your original hunting grounds, near the plant stem where you first took flight. This area feels like home now, even though you've only been flying for a few days. You know the air currents here, the best spots to find prey, and the places where you can land safely when you need to rest. You've also learned to recognize the regular flight patterns of the local bird population, which helps you avoid becoming someone else's meal. Your hunting skills continue to improve with each passing day. You've learned that early morning and late evening are the best times to hunt. That's when most flying insects are active, and the light conditions make them easier to spot against the sky. Midday hunting is harder because the bright sun creates confusing shadows and makes it difficult to judge distances accurately. You've also discovered that weather affects everything about your new life. Light rain makes flying difficult and dangerous. Your wings can become waterlogged, and wet air provides less lift. Strong winds are even worse. They can blow you completely off course or slam you into obstacles before you can react. But gentle breezes are perfect for hunting because they concentrate flying insects in predictable areas where the air is calmer. During one particularly successful morning hunt, you managed to catch 12 mosquitoes, 3 flies, and 2 gnats in less than an hour. Your belly is full for the first time since your transformation, and you feel the satisfaction of a hunt well executed. But as you're digesting your meal while perched on your favorite reed, you notice something that makes your newly efficient heart skip a beat. There's another dragonfly approaching, but this one is different from the territorial male you encountered before. This one is smaller, more delicately built, with wings that catch the morning light in a way that seems almost intentional. She flies with purpose, but without aggression, moving through the air with a grace that makes you forget about everything else. You don't understand what's happening to you, but something deep in your newly rewired brain is telling you that this is important. She lands on a plant stem about 10 feet away from you, close enough that you can see the intricate patterns on her wings and the way her compound eyes seem to shimmer in the sunlight. She's definitely aware of your presence, but she doesn't seem threatened by it. Instead, she begins what you can only describe as a display, flying in slow, deliberate patterns that show off her aerial abilities. You watch, mesmerized, as she performs loops and spirals with an elegance you've never seen before. Every movement seems calculated to demonstrate her flying skills, her agility, her fitness as a potential mate. Because that's what this is, even though you don't fully understand it yet. Your body is responding to biological imperatives that are millions of years old, instincts that were programmed into your DNA long before you ever broke free from your underwater egg. Without really thinking about it, you launch yourself into the air and begin your own display. Your movements are less polished than hers, but you put everything you have into the performance. You show her your speed, your maneuverability, your hunting prowess. You catch a passing fly mid-flight and eat it while still airborne, demonstrating that you're a capable provider. You perform aerial stunts that push your flying abilities to their limits. She watches your display with what seems like interest, occasionally adjusting her position to get a better view. When you finally land, breathing hard from the exertion, she flies closer. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that you can see the individual facets of her compound eyes. She studies you for a long moment, and you have the distinct impression that you're being evaluated. Then she flies away, not far, just to another plant stem about 20 feet distant, but far enough to make it clear that the display phase is over. You're not sure if you passed her test or not, but something tells you that this interaction isn't finished. There are protocols to follow, courtship rituals that are as old as your species, and you're just beginning to learn what they are. Over the next several days, you encounter her repeatedly. Sometimes she seems receptive to your presence, allowing you to hunt in the same area without chasing you away. Other times, she's more aloof, keeping her distance and ignoring your attempts to get her attention. You're beginning to understand that courtship among your kind is a complex process that requires patience and persistence. You also discover that you're not the only male interested in her. Another dragonfly, larger and more experienced than you, has been patrolling the same area. When you encounter him, the territorial behavior you witnessed before becomes much more intense. He doesn't just want you to leave his hunting grounds, he wants you to stay away from the female entirely. The confrontation is inevitable. He flies directly at you with aggressive intent, and you have no choice but to defend yourself. The aerial battle that follows is unlike anything you've experienced. You're fighting for position, trying to get above your opponent while preventing him from getting above you. Height advantage is everything in aerial combat. The dragonfly that can attack from above has a significant edge. You're faster than he is, but he's stronger and more experienced. He knows tricks you haven't learned yet, ways to use air currents and wind patterns to his advantage. The fight ranges across hundreds of yards as you chase each other through the air, each trying to gain the upper hand. Your wings burn with the effort, and your heart pounds with a rhythm you've never felt before. The battle ends when you make a mistake. You try a maneuver that's beyond your current skill level, a sharp turn that leaves you vulnerable for just a split second. He takes advantage immediately, slamming into you with enough force to send you tumbling toward the water. You recover just in time to avoid a crash landing, but the message is clear. You've lost this round. The larger male returns to his patrol pattern, having established his dominance. You retreat to the far side of your territory, frustrated and exhausted. But defeat doesn't mean the end of your interest in the female. It just means you need to be more strategic about your approach. You begin watching her from a distance, learning her flight patterns and preferences, waiting for an opportunity when the larger male isn't around. Your chance comes 3 days later. The larger male has expanded his territory to include a nearby stream, probably because the hunting there is particularly good. While he's away, you approach the female again. This time, your courtship display is more confident, more polished. You've been practicing your aerial maneuvers, and the improvement shows. She seems more receptive this time, perhaps because you're displaying without the pressure of immediate competition. Your flight patterns become synchronized as she joins you in the air, the two of you moving together in a complex and aerial dance. It's beautiful and terrifying and completely instinctual. You don't know the steps, but your body does. The courtship culminates when she allows you to approach closely enough to mate. The process is brief but intense, a connection that ensures the continuation of your genetic line afterward. She flies away to find a suitable place to lay her eggs, and you return to your solitary hunting existence. You may never see her again, but that's not the point. You've fulfilled one of the primary purposes of your transformation from aquatic nymph to aerial predator. Your territorial battles with other males become more frequent as the summer progresses. Each encounter teaches you something new about aerial combat and the complex social dynamics of your species. You win some fights and lose others, but gradually you establish yourself as a formidable presence in your section of the pond. Younger, less experienced dragonflies learn to avoid your territory, while older, more established males treat you as a legitimate rival rather than just a nuisance. The constant fighting and territorial defense takes its toll on your body. Your wings show wear from the battles, tiny tears and worn edges that affect your flying efficiency. Your reflexes are still sharp, but you're not quite as fast as you were when you first took to the air. This is the price of success in the aerial world. Every victory comes with a cost. You also notice changes in your hunting patterns. You're becoming more selective about your prey, focusing on larger, more nutritious targets rather than chasing every small insect that crosses your path. This isn't laziness, it's efficiency born from experience. You've learned to conserve energy for when it matters most, whether that's a territorial battle or a particularly challenging hunt. The summer heat intensifies, and with it comes an abundance of flying insects. The air around the pond is thick with mosquitoes, flies, gnats, and midges. For a predator like you, it's like living in paradise. You can catch enough food in a single morning hunt to sustain yourself for the entire day. The rest of your time can be spent patrolling your territory, engaging in courtship displays, or simply resting in the shade of your favorite perch. But the abundance also brings increased competition. More dragonflies arrive at the pond, drawn by the rich hunting opportunities. Some are migrants from other areas, following food sources as they become available. Others are newly transformed nymphs, like you were just weeks ago, emerging from the water with their wings still soft and their flying skills undeveloped. You watch these newcomers with a mixture of recognition and predatory interest. You remember what it was like to be that vulnerable, that uncertain about flying and hunting. But you're not the same creature you were then. You've established yourself in this aerial ecosystem, and new arrivals represent both competition for resources and potential threats to your territory. Your response to the newcomers depends on their behavior. If they keep to the edges of your territory and don't interfere with your hunting, you might tolerate their presence. But if they're too aggressive, too confident, or too successful in areas you consider your own, you'll challenge them. The aerial battles that result are becoming more sophisticated as your combat skills improve. You've learned to use the environment to your advantage during fights. The tall reeds near the water's edge create turbulent air currents that can disorient an opponent. The open water provides clear airspace for high-speed chases. The overhanging trees offer opportunities for ambush tactics. Each section of your territory has its own tactical advantages, and you know how to use them all. Your hunting techniques have evolved far beyond the simple chase and catch methods you started with. You've developed what can only be called strategies, complex approaches that take into account prey behavior, environmental conditions, and energy efficiency. You can predict where a swarm of gnats will be based on wind patterns and temperature. You know which flowers attract the kinds of bees and wasps that make for substantial meals. You've even learned to hunt cooperatively on occasion, working with other dragonflies to herd prey into favorable positions. The cooperative hunting is particularly interesting because it suggests a level of intelligence and social awareness that goes beyond simple territorial behavior. When a large swarm of flying ants appears, a rare but incredibly rich food source, you and several other dragonflies instinctively coordinate your attacks to maximize everyone's success. There's no communication in any human sense, but there's definitely coordination. These collaborative hunts are some of the most successful you've experienced. The sheer abundance of prey overwhelms the usual competitive instincts, and everyone benefits from working together. You can catch more ants in an hour of cooperative hunting than you might catch flies in an entire day of solo work. It's a reminder that even apex predators sometimes benefit from cooperation. As summer reaches its peak, you encounter something that changes your understanding of what it means to be a dragonfly. You discover a communal roosting site, a cluster of trees where dozens of dragonflies gather each evening to rest. You stumble upon it by accident while chasing a particularly elusive horsefly, but what you find there is remarkable. The roosting site is like a dragonfly city. There are individuals from multiple species, all coexisting peacefully in the branches of several large trees. The usual territorial aggression is suspended here. This is neutral ground where everyone can rest safely. You see dragonflies that would normally fight each other, sharing the same branch, their wings folded back as they prepare for the night. You're initially hesitant to join the roost, unsure of the social protocols, but as the sun sets and other dragonflies begin arriving from all directions, you realize that this is a normal part of their daily routine. You find an empty spot on a sturdy branch and settle in for your first communal night's rest. The experience is surprisingly comforting after weeks of solitary living. The roosting site becomes a regular part of your routine. Each evening, you make the flight from your hunting grounds to the communal trees, joining dozens of other dragonflies for the night. Each morning, you disperse back to your individual territories. It's a daily cycle that provides both the social interaction your species needs and the territorial independence your hunting lifestyle requires. At the roost, you observe behaviors and interactions you never would have seen otherwise. There are hierarchies based on size and species, with the largest dragonflies claiming the best positions near the top of the trees. There are courtship displays that happen in the evening light, more elaborate than anything you've witnessed during the day. There are even what appear to be social grooming behaviors, with dragonflies cleaning each other's wings and bodies. You also learn about migration at the roosting site. Some of the dragonflies you meet there are just passing through, following ancient routes that take them hundreds of miles from where they were born. They share the roost for a night or two before continuing their journey, bringing news of distant ponds and different hunting grounds. Their stories, told through scent and subtle behavioral cues, expand your understanding of the world beyond your small territory. The migration tales make you restless in a way you don't fully understand. Your territory provides everything you need: food, shelter, mating opportunities. But something deep in your genetic programming is responding to the idea of long-distance flight. You find yourself testing your endurance, making longer and longer flights away from the pond, always returning, but pushing your limits a little further each time. One day, you decide to follow a group of migrating dragonflies as they leave the roosting site. You tell yourself, it's just curiosity, just a longer test flight, but something deeper is driving you forward. The migrants fly with purpose, their wings beating in steady rhythms that suggest they've done this journey before. You struggle to keep up with their pace at first. Migration flying is different from hunting or territorial flights. It requires sustained effort over long distances, and your wings aren't conditioned for it yet. The landscape changes beneath you as you follow the migration route. The familiar pond shrinks to a distant speck, then disappears entirely behind rolling hills. You've never been this far from home, and the sensation is both exhilarating and terrifying. Everything below looks different: new waterways, unfamiliar forests, human settlements you've never seen before. Your compound eyes take in details that your brain struggles to process: roads cutting through fields, buildings clustered together in patterns that make no sense to you, vehicles moving along predetermined paths like mechanical insects. After several hours of flight, your wing muscles are screaming for rest. The migrants seem tireless, but you're approaching your limits. You spot a small lake ahead and make the decision to break away from the group. They continue on without you, disappearing into the distance as you spiral down toward the water. Landing on a reed at the lake's edge, you realize you're completely lost. You have no idea how to get back to your territory, and for the first time since your transformation, you're truly alone. The lake is different from your home pond. The water is clearer, the plant life more diverse, and the insect population follows different patterns. You spend the first day just observing, trying to understand this new ecosystem. The hunting opportunities are abundant, but the prey species are subtly different. The mosquitoes here have different flight patterns. The flies congregate in different areas, and there are insects you don't recognize at all. Your first hunt in the new environment is a disaster. You misjudge the local wind patterns and miss 3 easy targets in a row. The insects here have evolved alongside different predators, and their escape behaviors don't match what you're used to. A type of midge you've never encountered before seems to anticipate your attacks, dodging at the last possible second with moves that leave you grasping empty air. It's humbling to realize how much of your hunting success was based on intimate knowledge of your home territory. But you adapt quickly. That's what predators do. Within a few days, you've figured out the local patterns. The midges might be tricky, but they're also slower than the ones back home. The flies here are larger and more nutritious, making up for their wariness with sheer caloric value. There's even a species of small beetle that flies during the day, something you never encountered at your original pond. They're challenging to catch, but incredibly satisfying when you succeed. The lake also introduces you to new dangers. There's a species of bird here that specializes in catching dragonflies, something like a flycatcher, but larger and more aggressive. It hunts from perches along the shoreline, darting out to snatch dragonflies from the air with precision that makes your own hunting look crude. You watch it take down 2 other dragonflies before you learn to recognize its hunting posture and avoid its strike zone. There are also more terrestrial threats than you're used to. Spiders here build webs between the reeds in patterns that create aerial traps for unwary dragonflies. You nearly fly into one during your second day at the lake, pulling up just in time to avoid the sticky strands that would have spelled your doom. The spider at the web's center is massive, easily large enough to overpower a dragonfly, and its web placement shows an understanding of flight patterns that's both impressive and terrifying. Despite the challenges, you find yourself settling into a routine at the lake. There's less competition here than at your home pond. Fewer dragonflies means more hunting opportunities for those who can adapt. You establish a loose territory around a section of shoreline that offers good perches and reliable prey populations. It's not as fiercely defended as your original territory was, partly because you're still learning the local dynamics, and partly because you're not sure how long you'll stay. The uncertainty about your future is something new. Back at your home pond, you lived day to day with clear purposes: hunt, defend territory, mate when possible. Here, you're caught between the migrant lifestyle and the territorial one. You could continue following the migration routes, seeing new places, and experiencing different ecosystems, or you could dig in here, establish yourself permanently, and build the kind of detailed territorial knowledge that makes for successful long-term survival. The decision is made for you when you encounter another dragonfly at the lake, not a migrant passing through, but a resident who's been here longer than you. She's clearly established, moving through the area with the confidence that comes from intimate familiarity. When she spots you, her reaction is neither aggressive nor welcoming. She simply watches, evaluating this newcomer who's appeared in her domain. Your interaction with her is different from the courtship rituals you experienced at your home pond. There's less display flying, less territorial posturing. Instead, she seems to be testing your competence in this environment. She leads you to challenging hunting grounds, areas where the prey is abundant, but the risks are high. Whether you succeed or fail in these tests will determine how she responds to your presence. The tests are subtle but real. She takes you near the spider webs, watching to see if you'll blunder into them or navigate safely around them. She hunts near the specialized bird's territory, observing whether you recognize the danger and adjust your behavior accordingly. She even leads you to a section of the lake where the water is unusually turbulent, creating difficult flying conditions that separate experienced dragonflies from novices. You pass most of her tests, though not without some close calls. Your reflexes are sharp enough to avoid the webs, your situational awareness good enough to spot the bird before it spots you. The turbulent air gives you more trouble. It's unlike anything you experienced at your home pond, but you manage to maintain controlled flight, even when the wind gusts threaten to slam you into the water. After several days of these evaluations, she accepts your presence. Not as a mate, that dynamic might develop later, but as a competent member of the lake's dragonfly community. It's a different kind of social structure than what you knew before, less rigidly territorial and more based on demonstrated ability. You're allowed to hunt in prime areas as long as you prove you can do so without creating problems for the established residents. This acceptance opens up new opportunities for learning. She shows you hunting techniques specific to this environment, ways to use the lake's unique features to your advantage. There's a particular type of current where the water flows around a submerged rock formation, creating updrafts that concentrate flying insects in predictable patterns. There are times of day when the local bird population is less active, providing safer hunting windows. There are even cooperative hunting opportunities with other species, small birds that flush insects from the reeds, creating easy targets for any dragonfly quick enough to take advantage. Your hunting skills continue to evolve in response to these new challenges and opportunities. You develop techniques for dealing with the local spider webs, learning to use them as navigation markers rather than just avoiding them. You figure out how to hunt effectively in the turbulent air zones, using the chaotic currents to mask your approach to prey. You even learn to hunt at night occasionally, something you never attempted at your home pond, taking advantage of the lake's abundant nighttime insect activity. The night hunting opens up an entirely new dimension of your predatory abilities. Your compound eyes, already incredibly sophisticated, prove to be surprisingly effective in low-light conditions. You can track the movement of moths and nocturnal flies against the star-filled sky, using their silhouettes as targeting references. The hunting is more challenging than daylight work. Everything happens in slower motion, and distances are harder to judge. But the prey is also less alert to aerial predators. Your first successful night hunt is a large moth that was circling near some flowering plants at the water's edge. You approach from above, using the darkness to mask your descent, and strike just as it pauses to investigate a particularly attractive bloom. The moth is much larger than your usual prey, and its struggle is more intense than you're used to. But your jaws are strong enough to handle it, and the nutritional payoff is enormous. One moth provides as much energy as a dozen smaller insects. Night hunting becomes a regular part of your routine, extending your active hours and reducing competition with the lake's daytime hunters. You discover that certain areas of the lake are particularly productive after dark places where nocturnal insects gather in large numbers, creating feeding opportunities that simply don't exist during the day. Your territory expands to include these nighttime hunting grounds, effectively doubling the area you can exploit for food. The expanded territory brings you into contact with nocturnal predators you never encountered before. There are bats here, small but incredibly agile flyers that hunt the same insects you're after. Your first encounter with a bat is startling. It appears out of nowhere, moving with erratic flight patterns that seem completely random until you realize they're following echolocation targets you can't detect. The bat ignores you, focused on smaller prey, but its presence is a reminder that the night sky has its own hierarchy of predators. You also discover that some of the lake's fish are more active at night, creating additional dangers for low-flying dragonflies. A bass or pike striking from below can end your hunting career in an instant, and the reduced visibility makes it harder to spot these underwater threats. You learn to vary your altitude more frequently during night hunts, never staying at the same height long enough for an aquatic predator to line up an attack. The seasonal changes at the lake are more dramatic than what you experienced at your home pond. As summer progresses toward autumn, the insect populations shift in ways that require constant adaptation. Some species become more abundant, while others disappear entirely. New migrants arrive from northern areas, bringing different prey species and different hunting challenges. The water temperature begins to drop, affecting the behavior of both aquatic and aerial insects. Your body starts responding to these seasonal changes in ways you don't fully understand. Your metabolism begins to slow slightly, and you find yourself eating less frequently, despite maintaining the same activity levels. Your wing beats become more efficient, requiring less energy to achieve the same flight performance. These changes feel natural, but they're also concerning because you don't know what they're preparing you for. The other dragonflies at the lake are going through similar changes. Some of the migrants who arrived earlier in the season have already moved on, following routes that will take them hundreds of miles south. Others seem to be preparing for something different, a kind of dormancy that will allow them to survive the coming cold season. You watch them seeking out protected roosting sites, places where they can ride out the winter months in a state of reduced activity. Your own preparation instincts are conflicted. Part of you wants to continue the migration, to follow the warm weather south and maintain your active hunting lifestyle. But another part is drawn to the idea of staying at the lake, of weathering whatever comes next in familiar territory. The decision feels important in a way that goes beyond simple survival. It's about what kind of dragonfly you're going to be for the rest of your life. The choice becomes more complicated when you realize that the female dragonfly who accepted you into the lake community is preparing to stay. She's found a sheltered area among some fallen trees near the shore, a place where the water stays slightly warmer and the wind protection is excellent. Her behavior suggests she's done this before, that she has experience with surviving the cold season in this location. Following her lead would mean committing to the lake as your permanent home, giving up the possibility of migration and the adventures it might bring. But it would also mean stability, the chance to develop the kind of intimate environmental knowledge that makes for truly successful predation. It's a decision between the known and the unknown, between safety and discovery. You spend several days observing the migrants as they prepare to leave. Their behavior becomes increasingly restless as departure time approaches. They test fly longer distances, checking their endurance for the journey ahead. They feed more aggressively, building up fat reserves that will sustain them during long flights over areas where hunting opportunities are limited. Their entire focus shifts from daily survival to preparation for an epic journey. The appeal of migration is undeniable. The idea of seeing new places, experiencing different ecosystems, testing your abilities against unfamiliar challenges, it all calls to something deep in your predatory nature. But watching the migrants also reveals the risks involved. Not all of them look strong enough for the journey ahead. Some show signs of wear and stress that suggest they might not survive the long flights and uncertain food sources that migration demands. Your decision crystallizes during a particularly successful night hunt. You're working a section of the lake where moths gather around some late blooming flowers and everything comes together perfectly. Your flight patterns are flawless, your targeting is precise, and your energy efficiency is at its peak. You catch 7 moths in less than an hour, more food than you've ever taken in such a short time. As you rest on your favorite perch, digesting the feast, you realize that this is what mastery feels like. This level of hunting success is only possible because you've invested the time to truly understand this environment. You know where the prey congregates when the predators are active, how the wind patterns affect flying conditions. This knowledge can't be replicated quickly in a new location. It's the product of sustained observation and experience. Migration would mean giving up this hard-won expertise and starting over somewhere else. You make your choice. When the migrants begin their departure flights, you remain at the lake. You watch them disappear into the southern sky, their wings beating steadily as they begin journeys that will take them thousands of miles from where they were born. Part of you wonders what you're missing, what adventures and discoveries await in distant places. But a larger part is satisfied with the decision to stay, to become a true resident of this ecosystem rather than just a visitor passing through. The female dragonfly notices your decision and responds with what seems like approval. She begins showing you the finer details of the lake's seasonal cycles, information that's crucial for surviving the months ahead. She demonstrates how to find insects that remain active even as temperatures drop, species that other dragonflies might overlook, but that can provide crucial nutrition during lean times. She shows you the best roosting sites, places where you can wait out storms and cold snaps in relative comfort. Her knowledge extends beyond just survival techniques. She understands the lake's ecosystem in ways that go beyond immediate hunting needs. She knows which areas will be the first to warm up when spring returns, where the early insect hatches will occur, how the water levels change with seasonal rainfall patterns. This information represents years of accumulated experience, the kind of environmental intelligence that separates successful long-term residents from struggling newcomers. As autumn progresses, your hunting patterns adapt to the changing conditions. The aerial insect activity becomes more concentrated around certain areas and times of day. Morning and evening hunts become more productive as midday flying becomes less rewarding. You learn to take advantage of warm spells when insect activity surges, feeding heavily during these periods to carry you through the lean times that follow. Your body continues its seasonal adaptation. Your flight muscles become more efficient, requiring less energy to generate the same power output. Your digestive system adjusts to handle the different types of prey that become available as summer species disappear and autumn species emerge. Even your roosting behavior changes as you learn to find the most protected and thermally advantageous positions for spending the increasingly cold nights. The lake's other wildlife is going through similar adaptations. Fish move to deeper waters, where temperatures remain more stable. Birds begin their own migration patterns, some leaving for warmer climates, while others arrive from even colder regions further north. The entire ecosystem is shifting gears, preparing for the challenges of winter in ways both obvious and subtle. Your relationship with the resident female dragonfly deepens as you share the experience of seasonal preparation. There's no dramatic courtship display this time. Instead, there's a growing partnership based on mutual survival needs and shared environmental knowledge. You hunt together more frequently, taking advantage of cooperative strategies that work better in the changing conditions. You share roosting sites during particularly cold nights, conserving body heat and providing mutual protection. This partnership represents a different model of dragonfly social behavior than what you experienced during your first mating encounters. Instead of the brief, intense interactions focused purely on reproduction, this is an ongoing relationship built around practical cooperation and shared territory management. It's more complex and arguably more sustainable than the purely instinctual mating behaviors you engaged in earlier. The first frost arrives on a clear morning in early autumn. You wake to find ice crystals coating the reeds around your roosting site, and the air temperature is low enough that your wing muscles are stiff and unresponsive. Moving requires more effort than usual, and your first attempts at flight are clumsy and inefficient. This is your introduction to the challenges of cold weather survival, and it's more difficult than you anticipated. The frost also affects the insect populations in dramatic ways. Many species that were abundant just days before have disappeared entirely, either killed by the cold or driven into hiding places where they'll wait out the winter. The insects that remain active are sluggish and easier to catch, but they're also much less numerous. Your hunting success rate improves, but the total amount of food available drops significantly. Adapting to these new conditions requires both behavioral and physiological adjustments. You learn to time your hunting activities around the warmest parts of the day when both you and your prey are most active. You discover that certain areas of the lake retain heat better than others, creating microenvironments where insect activity persists, even when the surrounding areas are too cold for effective hunting. Your energy management becomes crucial in ways it never was during the abundance of summer. Every flight has to be calculated in terms of energy expenditure versus potential food gain. Wasteful hunting techniques that were acceptable when prey was abundant become unsustainable in the resource-limited environment of autumn. You develop a more patient, more strategic approach to predation that maximizes your success rate while minimizing unnecessary energy expenditure. The shorter days also affect your hunting schedule. With fewer hours of warmth and light, you have less time each day to gather the food you need for survival. This compression of hunting opportunities forces you to become even more efficient, focusing on the most productive techniques and locations while abandoning marginal hunting strategies that might have been worthwhile when time was abundant. Despite these challenges, you find a certain satisfaction in mastering cold weather survival. The skills you're developing are more sophisticated than anything you needed during the easy abundance of summer. You're becoming a more complete predator, capable of thriving in conditions that would challenge or eliminate less adaptable dragonflies. The harsh environment is making you stronger and more versatile. Your partnership with the resident female becomes even more important as conditions deteriorate. Together, you can exploit hunting opportunities that would be too risky or inefficient for a solitary dragonfly. You develop coordinated hunting strategies where one of you flushes prey while the other positions for the strike. You share information about productive hunting areas and warn each other about new dangers that appear as the ecosystem shifts. The cooperation extends beyond hunting into other aspects of survival. You take turns keeping watch during vulnerable periods, like molting or extended rest. You share the best roosting sites, alternating access to the most protected and thermally advantageous positions. This level of cooperation represents a sophisticated social adaptation that goes well beyond the simple territorial behaviors that dominated your earlier life. As winter approaches, you realize that your transformation from aquatic nymph to aerial predator was just the beginning of your development. The dragonfly you've become through the challenges of migration, territorial establishment, seasonal adaptation, and cooperative partnership is far more complex and capable than the creature that first broke the surface of your home pond. You've evolved not just physically, but behaviorally and socially, developing skills and relationships that will serve you through whatever challenges lie ahead. The cycle of seasons continues, and with it, the ongoing process of adaptation and survival that defines life as one of nature's most efficient aerial predators. You've found your place in the ecosystem, not as a temporary visitor or a struggling newcomer, but as a fully integrated member of a complex community of hunters and survivors. The journey from underwater ambush predator to master of the skies is complete, but the adventure of survival continues with each new day, each new challenge, each new opportunity to prove your worth as one of the most remarkable predators in the natural world. The lake becomes your testing ground as winter settles in with serious intent. Ice forms along the shorelines, creeping further into the water each night until only the deepest sections remain unfrozen. Your hunting opportunities shrink to a narrow window around midday when the sun manages to warm the air enough for insects to become active. Even then, you're competing with every other surviving predator for the same limited resources. Your body adapts in ways that surprise you. Your metabolism slows to a crawl, allowing you to survive on far less food than you needed during the summer months. Your wing muscles become incredibly efficient, generating maximum power with minimal energy expenditure. You can hover for longer periods and fly further distances on the same amount of fuel. It's like your entire system has been redesigned for conservation rather than abundance. The partnership with your female companion deepens into something that goes beyond simple cooperation. You develop a communication system based on subtle wing movements and positioning that allows you to coordinate hunts without alerting prey to your presence. When she spots a cluster of midges near a patch of open water, a slight adjustment in her flight angle tells you exactly where to position yourself for the most effective strike. When you identify a productive hunting area, your hovering pattern communicates the information to her without wasting energy on unnecessary movement. This silent coordination becomes essential as the available prey becomes scarcer and more alert. The insects that survive into winter are the wariest, most experienced individuals of their species. They've learned to recognize the signs of dragonfly presence and react accordingly. Hunting them requires patience and precision that would have been impossible when you were operating alone. Your partnership gives you the tactical advantage needed to outmaneuver these survival-hardened targets. The cold also brings unexpected opportunities. Ice formation creates new microenvironments where certain insects congregate for warmth. The edges of ice sheets, where open water meets frozen surface, generate convection currents that attract flying insects seeking thermal relief. You learn to exploit these areas, timing your hunts to coincide with the brief periods when conditions are optimal for both insect activity and your own flying efficiency. Your night hunting skills prove invaluable during the short winter days. While other dragonflies restrict their activity to the limited warm daylight hours, you can extend your hunting into the twilight periods when competition is reduced. The insects active during these times are different from your summer prey, hardier species that can function in cooler temperatures, but also less agile due to the cold. Your compound eyes, adapted for low light conditions, give you a significant advantage in these challenging hunts. One particularly harsh week tests your survival skills to their limits. A cold snap drops temperatures well below anything you've experienced, and ice covers all but a small section of the lake's center. No insects fly during the day, and your energy reserves begin to dwindle dangerously. Your partner finds a solution in the form of a small spring that feeds into the lake, creating a pocket of slightly warmer water where a few hardy midges continue to breed despite the conditions. The spring hunting requires techniques you've never used before. The area is tiny, perhaps only a few square feet of open water, and the midges rarely venture more than inches above the surface. You have to hunt from a hover position just above the water, striking downward at targets that are barely visible against the dark surface. The margin for error is non-existent. A mistimed strike sends you into the frigid water, which could be fatal in these temperatures. You master this precision hunting through necessity and repetition. Each successful strike provides just enough nutrition to keep you alive for another day or two. Your partner takes turns with you, ensuring that both of you maintain the minimum energy levels needed for survival. The cooperation is no longer strategic. It's become essential for staying alive through the harshest conditions either of you has ever faced. The cold snap breaks after 6 days, and the temperature rises just enough to allow limited insect activity during the warmest part of each day. You emerge from this trial leaner but stronger, with hunting skills refined to a level of precision you didn't know was possible. The experience has taught you that survival isn't just about abundance and successful competition. Sometimes it's about finding microscopic opportunities in seemingly impossible conditions. Spring arrives gradually, marked first by longer periods of warmth during the day, then by the return of familiar insect species you haven't seen in months. The lake begins to thaw from the edges inward, opening up new hunting territories that have been inaccessible since the first hard freeze. Your body responds to the changing conditions by ramping up your metabolism and returning your flight capabilities to their peak performance levels. The spring emergence brings a flood of new life to the lake ecosystem. Aquatic insects that spent the winter as eggs or larvae begin their own transformations, creating hunting opportunities unlike anything you experienced during your first year of flying. You watch newly emerged mayflies struggling with their first flights, remembering your own clumsy attempts at aerial maneuvering. The difference is that now you're the experienced predator rather than the vulnerable newcomer. Your hunting success during the spring emergence is extraordinary. The combination of abundant prey and refined technique allows you to feed more efficiently than ever before. You catch insects with an ease that would have seemed impossible when you first took to the air. Your strikes are precise, your energy expenditure minimal, and your success rate approaches perfection. You've become the kind of aerial predator that other dragonflies aspire to be. The success brings new challenges in the form of territorial pressure from other dragonflies attracted to the lake's productive hunting grounds. Some are residents returning from winter dormancy. Others are migrants following the warming weather north. A few are newly emerged nymphs beginning their own aerial careers. The competition for prime hunting areas becomes intense, requiring you to defend not just your territory, but your hard-won status as one of the lake's dominant predators. Your territorial battles are different now than they were during your first season of flying. You fight with the confidence of experience and the efficiency of refined technique. Your aerial combat skills have been honed by months of challenging hunts and survival pressures. You don't just defend your territory, you expand it, claiming productive areas from less experienced or less capable rivals. The expansion brings you into conflict with dragonflies you've never encountered before, including some that are larger and potentially more dangerous than any you've faced. One particularly aggressive male challenges you for access to the spring area that proved so crucial during the winter cold snap. He's bigger than you, with wings that span nearly 7 inches, and he moves through the air with the kind of confidence that comes from years of successful territorial defense. The battle that follows is the most intense of your flying career. He uses his size advantage to try to force you into disadvantageous positions, diving from above and using his superior mass to knock you off course. But you've learned to use speed and agility to counter raw power. You lead him through complex aerial maneuvers that favor precision over strength, forcing him to work harder while conserving your own energy for decisive strikes. The fight ranges across the entire lake as you test each other's capabilities. He's stronger, but you're more efficient. He has greater endurance, but you have better tactical awareness. The contest becomes a chess match, played at high speed in 3 dimensions, each of you probing for weaknesses while protecting your own vulnerabilities. Other dragonflies stop their own activities to watch, sensing that this battle will determine the lake's territorial hierarchy for the coming season. Victory comes when you exploit his overconfidence. He attempts a diving attack that would have been devastating if it had connected, but you read his approach and execute a last-second evasion that leaves him committed to a flight path he can't adjust. Your counterattack catches him off balance, and suddenly you're the one with the altitude advantage. The momentum shift is decisive. Within moments, he's retreating toward the far end of the lake, conceding the prime territory to you. Your victory establishes you as the lake's dominant male dragonfly, a status that brings both privileges and responsibilities. Other males defer to you in territorial disputes, but they also expect you to take the lead in defending the area against outside threats. When a group of migrant dragonflies attempts to establish themselves in the most productive hunting grounds, it's your responsibility to coordinate the response that drives them away. The leadership role changes your daily routine in subtle but important ways. You spend more time patrolling the territorial boundaries and less time focused on your own hunting needs. You intervene in disputes between other residents, establishing precedents that maintain order within the community. You evaluate newcomers, deciding which ones can be tolerated and which ones represent threats that must be eliminated. Your partnership with the resident female evolves as well. She's now clearly recognized as the dominant female in the area, and your combined territorial control gives both of you access to the best hunting opportunities and safest roosting sites. The relationship has matured beyond simple cooperation into something resembling a true partnership, with shared responsibilities for maintaining and defending your joint territory. The territorial success attracts other females to the area, creating mating opportunities you didn't have as a subordinate male. Your courtship displays are more confident now, backed by demonstrated success and territorial control. The females respond differently to a proven dominant male than they did to an unestablished newcomer. Your genetic fitness has been validated through competition making you a desirable partner for reproduction. You mate successfully with multiple females throughout the spring and early summer, ensuring that your genetic line will continue into the next generation. Each mating is brief but significant, a continuation of the evolutionary process that brought you from aquatic nymph to aerial predator to territorial dominant. Your offspring will face the same challenges you overcame, and some of them will succeed as you have succeeded. The summer heat brings a new abundance of prey species to exploit. The lake's ecosystem reaches its peak productivity, supporting larger populations of insects than you've ever seen. Your hunting efficiency allows you to take full advantage of this abundance without the desperate edge that characterized your survival during the winter months. You can afford to be selective about your targets, focusing on the most nutritious prey while ignoring marginal opportunities. Your selectivity extends beyond simple caloric considerations to include tactical preferences. You've learned that certain types of prey improve your flying performance, while others slow you down. Protein-rich beetles enhance your wing muscle development, while sugar-heavy flies provide quick energy for extended flight periods. The knowledge allows you to fine-tune your diet for optimal performance rather than just basic survival. The summer also brings the year's most challenging hunting opportunities in the form of large, fast-moving prey that would have been impossible targets during your early flying career. Dragon hunter dragonflies, species even larger than yourself, occasionally venture into your territory, presenting the ultimate test of your aerial combat skills. These encounters are more like aerial duels than hunts, requiring every technique you've mastered over your flying career. Your first successful hunt of a dragon hunter is a defining moment that establishes your reputation as more than just a territorial dominant. The target is a female of a species known for its aggressive hunting style and formidable aerial capabilities. She enters your territory pursuing a meal of her own, probably unaware that she's being watched by an even more dangerous predator. The hunt requires patience and perfect timing. Dragon hunters are notoriously difficult to approach because of their exceptional situational awareness and lightning-fast reflexes. You have to wait for the perfect moment when she's focused on her own prey and vulnerable to attack from an unexpected angle. The opportunity comes when she commits to a diving strike at a large fly, her attention completely focused on the target below. Your attack is perfectly executed. You approach from her blind spot during the dive, matching her speed and trajectory until you're close enough to strike. Your jaws close around her thorax, just behind the head, the most vulnerable point on her heavily armored body. She struggles violently, her powerful wings beating frantically as she tries to escape, but your grip is secure and your position gives you the leverage advantage. The battle continues as both of you tumble toward the water, locked together in aerial combat. She's stronger than you, but she's also fighting from a disadvantageous position with a mortal wound compromising her flight capabilities. Your experience with aerial combat serves you well as you maintain your grip while maneuvering to avoid her attempts to strike back with her own formidable jaws. Victory comes when her struggles weaken enough for you to deliver the killing bite. The massive dragonfly goes limp in your grasp, and you carry her to your favorite feeding perch to consume your prize. The meal provides more nutrition than a dozen smaller prey items, but more importantly, it establishes your credentials as a predator capable of taking on the most dangerous aerial hunters in the ecosystem. Word of your success spreads through the lake's dragonfly community in ways you don't fully understand but can definitely sense. Other males treat you with increased deference. while females show more interest in your territorial displays. You've crossed a threshold from successful territorial holder to apex predator, a status that only the most capable dragonflies ever achieve. The reputation brings both advantages and new challenges. Advantages include reduced territorial pressure from potential challengers and preferential access to the best hunting opportunities. Challenges include increased expectations for leadership and the constant need to maintain the performance standards that earned your status. Every hunt is now watched and evaluated by other members of the community. Your hunting style continues to evolve in response to your elevated status. You take more risks, pursuing prey that would have been too dangerous for a less established dragonfly. You also hunt more strategically, focusing on targets that not only provide nutrition, but also maintain your reputation for taking difficult prey. Each successful hunt reinforces your position in the territorial hierarchy. The late summer brings the season's most abundant insect hatches, creating hunting opportunities that exist nowhere else in the yearly cycle. Massive emergences of mayflies, caddisflies, and midges turn sections of the lake into aerial feeding frenzies where dozens of dragonflies compete for the richest prey concentrations. Your dominant status gives you first choice of hunting areas, but it also requires you to defend those areas against increasingly desperate competition. The feeding frenzies test your ability to hunt effectively while maintaining territorial control. You have to balance your own nutritional needs against the necessity of preventing other dragonflies from exploiting your prime hunting grounds. The solution you develop involves rapid, efficient hunting that maximizes your food intake while minimizing the time you spend vulnerable to territorial challenges. Your technique during these abundant periods becomes a model that other dragonflies attempt to copy. You identify the most productive areas within the emergence zones and establish a hunting pattern that allows you to exploit them systematically. Your strikes are so rapid and precise that you can clear an area of desirable prey before competitors realize what's happening. The efficiency is both practical and intimidating, demonstrating the kind of hunting mastery that maintains your territorial dominance. As summer progresses toward its end, you begin to sense the approach of another seasonal transition. The insect populations start to shift as some species complete their life cycles and others prepare for dormancy or migration. Your body begins its own subtle preparations for the challenges ahead, adjusting metabolism and energy storage in response to environmental cues you're only beginning to understand. The approaching autumn also brings a new generation of dragonflies to the lake. Young adults emerge from their nymphal transformations throughout the late summer, adding fresh competition to an already complex territorial situation. Some of these newcomers are your own offspring, though you have no way of recognizing them as such. They face the same challenges you overcame during your own first season of flight, but they're entering a more competitive environment than the one you encountered. Your response to the newcomers reflects your evolved understanding of territorial dynamics. Rather than automatically driving them away, you evaluate each individual's potential threat level and respond accordingly. Weak or incompetent flyers are ignored as long as they stay out of your prime hunting areas. Promising individuals who show potential for territorial establishment are monitored closely and challenged if they become too successful in areas you consider your own. This selective tolerance creates a more stable territorial structure than the simple aggression-based system you experienced as a newcomer. By allowing some new residents while excluding others, you help maintain a community of competent hunters rather than creating a vacuum that would eventually be filled by unknown competitors from outside the area. Your partnership with the resident female continues to provide both tactical advantages and social stability as the territorial situation becomes more complex. Together, you can monitor a larger area and respond more effectively to potential threats. Your combined experience allows you to make better decisions about which newcomers to tolerate and which ones require immediate action. The female's own hunting success has improved dramatically during your partnership, partly due to reduced competition pressure and partly due to the cooperative techniques you've developed together. She's become one of the lake's most efficient predators in her own right, capable of taking prey that would challenge many male dragonflies. The partnership has elevated both of your capabilities beyond what either could achieve alone. As the first hints of autumn color appears in the surrounding vegetation, you realize that you've successfully completed your second annual cycle as an aerial predator. The transformation from struggling newcomer to territorial dominant represents more than just personal success. It demonstrates the remarkable adaptability that makes dragonflies one of the most successful predator groups in the natural world. Your mastery of the aerial hunting lifestyle is now complete in ways that go beyond simple technique. You understand the lake's ecosystem at a level that allows you to predict and exploit opportunities before they fully develop. You can read environmental cues that tell you when and where the best hunting will occur. You've developed the social intelligence needed to maintain your position in a complex community of territorial predators. The approaching winter holds no terrors for you this time. You've proven your ability to survive the harshest conditions, and your improved status gives you access to the best resources for weathering whatever challenges the cold season might bring. Your partnership provides both practical support and social stability that will be crucial during the lean months ahead. But survival is no longer your primary concern. You've moved beyond the basic struggle for existence into the realm of mastery and optimization. Your focus now is on maintaining and improving your already exceptional capabilities, on continuing to evolve as both a predator and a territorial leader. The challenges ahead are not about survival, they're about excellence. Your second winter at the lake unfolds with a confidence and efficiency that would have been impossible during your first cold season. You know exactly where to find the most productive hunting opportunities, how to time your activities for maximum efficiency, and which techniques work best in the challenging conditions. Your energy management is so refined that you actually enter the winter in better physical condition than when you arrived at the lake as a newcomer. The cold season also provides opportunities for further skill development that aren't available during the abundant summer months. With prey scarce and every hunt critical, you're forced to refine your techniques to levels of precision that would be unnecessary when food is plentiful. The winter hunting makes you an even more formidable predator, preparing you for whatever challenges might arise when the ecosystem returns to full activity. Your third season begins with a mastery that sets you apart from every other dragonfly at the lake. When the ice finally breaks and the first warm currents start flowing again, you're already positioned at the most productive emergent sites. You know exactly when the mayflies will start their ascent from the lake bottom, when the first midges will brave the cool morning air, when the water temperature will hit that perfect threshold for maximum insect activity. The spring hunting is almost effortless now. Your strikes connect with mechanical precision, your energy expenditure calculated to the exact calorie. You've learned to read the microcurrents of air above the water's surface, predicting exactly where emerging insects will drift before they even break through. Other dragonflies watch your technique with something that looks like reverence, trying to copy movements they don't fully understand. But something else is happening to your body, changes you don't recognize at first. Your wing muscles feel different, not weaker, but somehow less responsive than they were last season. Your molting cycle has slowed dramatically, and when you do shed your exoskeleton now, the new one doesn't seem quite as flexible as before. The changes are subtle, barely noticeable day to day, but they're accumulating in ways that will matter. Your territorial dominance remains unchallenged through the early spring, but maintaining it requires more effort than it used to. The aggressive patrols that once felt effortless now leave you slightly more tired than they should. Your aerial combat techniques are still superior to any challenger, but the recovery time after intensive battles has increased. You're still the apex predator of the lake, but the margin is narrowing in ways only you can detect. The resident female notices the changes before you fully acknowledge them yourself. Her hunting patterns shift slightly, taking on more of the territorial defense burden without making it obvious. She intercepts potential challengers before they reach your core territory, handles the smaller disputes that would have been beneath your notice in previous seasons. The partnership deepens into something that compensates for weaknesses neither of you openly admits exist. New migrants arrive with the warming weather, including some that are larger and younger than any you've faced before. One in particular catches your attention. A massive male with wingspan that rivals your own, but with the kind of aggressive confidence that only comes from recent success. He doesn't challenge you directly at first, but his presence changes the dynamics of the entire lake community. The newcomer establishes himself in an area adjacent to your territory, testing boundaries with the kind of systematic pressure that suggests real experience rather than youthful bravado. He's clearly studied your patrol patterns, identifying the times when your territorial coverage is thinnest. His hunting displays are calculated to impress not just potential mates, but also the other males who might become allies in future territorial disputes. Your first direct encounter with him comes during a morning hunt near the disputed boundary between your territories. Both of you are pursuing the same target, a large horsefly that represents a significant meal for either predator. The pursuit becomes a test of capabilities as much as a hunt, each of you trying to demonstrate superior aerial skills while actually chasing the prey. He reaches the horsefly first, but his strike misses by a fraction of an inch. Your follow-up attempt connects perfectly, snatching the insect from the air with the kind of precision that's become your trademark. It should be a clear demonstration of superior hunting ability, but his reaction suggests he's learned something from watching your technique rather than being intimidated by it. The territorial pressure continues to build over the following weeks. The newcomer gradually expands his claimed area, always stopping just short of direct provocation, but making his intentions clear. Other dragonflies in the area watch these developments with obvious interest, sensing that a significant territorial shift might be imminent. Your status as the lake's dominant predator is being tested in ways that go beyond simple combat. Your response has to be carefully calculated. Direct aggression might lead to a battle you're no longer certain you can win, but allowing the encroachment to continue unchecked would signal weakness that could trigger challenges from multiple directions. You choose a middle path, increasing your patrol intensity while demonstrating your hunting superiority through increasingly impressive prey captures. The strategy works for a while, maintaining the territorial status quo through a combination of presence and performance rather than outright confrontation. But the energy cost is significant, and you find yourself needing longer recovery periods between intensive activities. The constant vigilance required to maintain dominance against a serious challenger is wearing on your system in ways that previous territorial defenses never did. The crisis comes during the peak of summer abundance, when the lake's insect populations reach their annual maximum. A massive emergence of flying ants creates hunting opportunities, unlike anything you've seen before. Thousands of large, protein-rich prey items filling the air above the lake's surface. It's the kind of feeding bonanza that defines territorial value for the entire season. The newcomer makes his move during the chaos of the emergence, launching a coordinated challenge that combines direct territorial aggression with attempts to monopolize the richest feeding areas. He's clearly planned this assault, timing it for when the stakes are highest and when the abundant prey might distract you from defensive necessities. The battle that follows is the most complex territorial dispute of your career. It's not just aerial combat, it's strategic maneuvering across multiple dimensions of territory, resources, and social dynamics. You have to defend your prime hunting areas while maintaining patrol coverage of your broader territory, all while actually catching enough of the emerging ants to justify the energy expenditure of the fight. Your experience gives you tactical advantages that the newcomer can't match. You know every air current around the lake, every thermal updraft and wind shadow that can be used for strategic positioning. Your hunting efficiency allows you to feed effectively even while engaged in territorial combat, maintaining your energy levels while he exhausts himself with wasteful displays. But his raw physical capabilities are superior to yours in ways that become increasingly obvious as the battle continues. His strikes are more powerful, his acceleration more explosive, his endurance deeper than what you can currently match. The fight becomes a contest between experience and physical peak, wisdom versus youth, strategic thinking against brute capability. The outcome isn't a decisive victory for either participant. Instead, it's a grinding stalemate that establishes a new territorial equilibrium. You retain control of your core hunting areas and primary roosting sites, but you're forced to cede some of the peripheral territory you'd claimed in previous seasons. The newcomer gains legitimate territorial status without achieving complete dominance. The compromise leaves you with enough resources to maintain your position as a major territorial holder, but your days as the lake's undisputed apex predator are clearly ending. The transition is handled with the kind of subtle, social adjustment that characterizes mature dragonfly communities. No dramatic defeats or humiliating retreats, just a gradual rebalancing of power structures based on current capabilities rather than past achievements. Your partner adapts to the new territorial reality with the pragmatism that's characterized your entire relationship. She maintains her own hunting efficiency while adjusting her movement patterns to account for the reduced area under your joint control. The partnership remains strong even as the territory it governs shrinks to a more manageable size. The reduced territorial responsibilities actually provide some unexpected benefits. With less area to patrol and defend, you can focus more energy on hunting efficiency and technique refinement. Your prey capture rate improves as you concentrate on the most productive areas rather than trying to control every potentially valuable hunting ground around the lake. Your hunting style evolves to match your changing physical capabilities, where once you relied on raw speed and power to overwhelm prey, you now emphasize precision and timing. Your strikes become even more accurate as you learn to compensate for slightly reduced acceleration with better target prediction. The efficiency gains help offset the gradual decline in your physical peak. The late summer brings new challenges in the form of a particularly harsh heat wave that pushes daytime temperatures well above normal levels. The extreme heat affects the entire lake ecosystem, altering insect activity patterns and creating thermal conditions that make flying during peak hours almost impossible. Your experience with environmental extremes becomes crucial for maintaining hunting success during these difficult conditions. You discover that the thermal management techniques you developed during your first winter have applications during extreme heat as well. The same microenvironments that provided warm hunting opportunities during cold weather now offer cooler refuges during the heat wave. Your knowledge of the lake's thermal geography gives you access to hunting opportunities that less experienced dragonflies can't exploit. The heat wave also creates opportunities for hunting heat-stressed insects that would normally be too fast or alert to catch easily. Flying ants that emerge during the cooler dawn hours become sluggish as temperatures rise, creating brief windows when even the largest and most challenging prey can be taken with relatively little effort. Your timing becomes critical as these opportunities last only minutes before conditions become unfavorable for both predator and prey. Your partnership proves especially valuable during the heat wave, as coordinated hunting allows both of you to exploit these narrow opportunity windows more effectively than either could manage alone. The cooperative techniques you've developed over multiple seasons reach their highest level of sophistication as environmental pressure forces maximum efficiency from every hunt. The extreme conditions also reveal the depth of your environmental knowledge in ways that weren't apparent during normal weather patterns. You know exactly which areas of the lake will be the last to become too hot for insect activity, which wind patterns provide the best cooling effects, and how to predict the brief evening periods when hunting becomes viable again. This knowledge represents years of accumulated experience that can't be quickly replicated by newcomers. As autumn approaches, you notice that your body's seasonal preparation responses are different from previous years. Your metabolism doesn't slow as dramatically as it once did, and your wing muscle efficiency improvements are less pronounced. The changes suggest that your physical systems are no longer adapting to seasonal challenges with the same effectiveness that characterized your earlier years. Your partner's seasonal preparation proceeds normally, creating a subtle but growing difference in your respective capabilities as cold weather approaches. She enters the autumn hunting season in peak condition while you begin it with capabilities that are measurably reduced from your previous peak performance levels. The partnership becomes even more important as this capability gap affects your combined territorial defense effectiveness. The first territorial challenges of the autumn season confirm that your reduced capabilities haven't gone unnoticed by other dragonflies in the area. A pair of late-season migrants test your boundary defenses with probing flights that would have been unthinkable during your period of peak dominance. Your responses are still effective, but they require more effort and provide smaller margins of victory than in previous seasons. Your tactical approach to territorial defense evolves to emphasize strategic positioning over direct confrontation. You use your superior knowledge of local conditions to force potential challengers into disadvantageous situations rather than meeting them in open aerial combat. The technique is effective, but represents a clear shift from the aggressive dominance displays that characterized your peak territorial period. The hunting during your third autumn is the most technically sophisticated of your career, with slightly reduced physical capabilities forcing maximum efficiency from every technique. you develop approaches to prey capture that represent the absolute pinnacle of dragonfly hunting methodology. Your success rate approaches theoretical perfection as experience compensates for the subtle decline in raw capability. Other dragonflies begin following you during hunting expeditions, not as competitors, but as students trying to learn from your refined techniques. The behavior is unprecedented in your experience. Territorial predators don't normally tolerate such close observation of their hunting methods, but your reputation for technical mastery has reached a level where even potential rivals recognize the educational value of watching you work. Your third winter at the lake unfolds with the kind of measured confidence that comes from complete environmental mastery. You know exactly how to survive the cold season with minimum energy expenditure and maximum hunting effectiveness. Your partnership with the resident female has evolved into a survival system that's more efficient than either of you could achieve alone. The winter also provides time for reflection on the changes that have occurred over your 3 seasons of aerial life. You've evolved from a desperate newcomer struggling with basic flight skills into a master predator whose techniques are studied by other dragonflies. The transformation represents more than just skill development. It's a fundamental change in your role within the lake's ecosystem. But you're also aware that your period of peak capability is ending. The subtle physical changes that began during your 3rd season are continuing, and they'll eventually compromise your ability to maintain your current territorial status. The realization brings neither panic nor despair, just a recognition that your life cycle is following patterns that are millions of years old. Your 4th season begins with the knowledge that it may be your last as a truly dominant predator. The awareness changes your approach to hunting and territorial management in subtle but important ways. You focus more on technique refinement and less on territorial expansion, more on partnership maintenance, and less on aggressive displays toward potential challengers. The spring emergence finds you hunting with an efficiency that borders on the artistic. Every movement serves multiple purposes. Every strike demonstrates principles that less experienced dragonflies are still trying to understand. Your hunting has become a teaching tool as much as a survival necessity, passing knowledge to the next generation of aerial predators through demonstration rather than direct instruction. Your territory has stabilized at a size that matches your current capabilities perfectly. It's smaller than your peak holdings, but large enough to provide abundant hunting opportunities and secure roosting sites. The boundaries are respected by other territorial holders, not through fear of your combat abilities, but through recognition of your established status and superior local knowledge. New challengers still appear occasionally, drawn by the prime hunting areas you control. But the challenges are less frequent and less intense than during your peak years, as if the entire dragonfly community understands that direct confrontation with you is unlikely to be worth the energy cost. Your reputation for tactical sophistication has become a form of territorial defense in itself. Your partnership with the resident female reaches its maximum level of coordination during your 4th season. The two of you function as a single hunting unit, sharing information and resources with an efficiency that represents the pinnacle of dragonfly cooperation. The partnership has become a model for other mated pairs in the area, demonstrating possibilities for collaborative hunting that most dragonflies never achieve. The summer abundance of your 4th season provides opportunities to hunt prey that you would never have attempted during your earlier years. Large, dangerous targets that require perfect timing and flawless technique become regular components of your diet. Your confidence in your abilities, allows you to take risks that pay off in spectacular prey, captures that maintain your reputation for hunting mastery. But the increased risk taking also leads to closer calls than you experienced during your more cautious earlier seasons. A near miss with a particularly aggressive wasp, a collision with a branch during a high speed pursuit, a moment of disorientation during a complex aerial maneuver, small incidents that remind you that even master predators operate within limits that are gradually narrowing. Your hunting style during the fourth season emphasizes sustainability over peak performance. You choose techniques that provide reliable results with minimum energy expenditure rather than pursuing the most impressive possible prey captures. The shift represents a mature understanding of your capabilities and limitations, an acknowledgement that efficiency matters more than spectacle. The late summer of your fourth season brings a series of successful matings that represent the culmination of your reproductive career. Your demonstrated hunting mastery and territorial success make you an attractive partner for multiple females, ensuring that your genetic contributions will be well represented in the next generation of lake dragonflies. Each mating carries additional significance because you understand that your opportunities for reproduction are becoming limited. The urgency adds intensity to the courtship displays and territorial defenses that surround each reproductive encounter. You invest maximum effort in ensuring that each mating is successful, knowing that future opportunities may be scarce. Your offspring from these late season matings will face the same challenges you overcame during your own development from aquatic nymph to aerial predator. Some will succeed spectacularly, others will struggle and fail, but all will carry genetic information that reflects your years of successful adaptation to the lake's challenging environment. As your fourth autumn approaches, you begin to sense that your time as an active territorial predator is drawing to a close. The changes in your body have accelerated, and maintaining your current level of hunting and territorial activity is becoming increasingly difficult. The transition from dominance to decline is beginning, marking the start of your final phase as a dragonfly. Your response to this realization is neither resignation nor desperate struggle against the inevitable. Instead, you begin preparing for a different role in the lake's ecosystem, one that emphasizes knowledge transfer and strategic positioning rather than active predation and territorial control. The transformation represents the final stage of your evolution from water-bound nymph to master of the aerial realm. The approaching winter of your fourth year holds different challenges than any you've faced before. It's not just about surviving the cold season, it's about managing the transition from peak capability to whatever comes next in your life cycle. The preparation requires both physical conservation and psychological adaptation to changing circumstances. Your partner's role becomes even more crucial as your capabilities shift. She takes on increasing responsibility for territorial defense and resource acquisition while you focus on the specialized hunting techniques that remain within your diminishing physical abilities. The partnership evolves into a system that maximizes the combined effectiveness of your complementary capabilities. The winner itself passes with the kind of measured efficiency that comes from complete mastery of survival techniques. You know exactly how to conserve energy, where to find the scarce cold weather prey, and how to maintain body condition through the harshest conditions. But you also know that this winter represents the end of one phase of your existence and the beginning of another. When spring returns for your fifth season, you emerge as a different kind of dragonfly than you were during your peak years. Your hunting is still precise and effective, but it's focused on smaller, less challenging prey that matches your reduced capabilities. Your territorial holdings have contracted to a core area that you can defend without excessive energy expenditure. Your role in the lake's social structure has shifted from dominant predator to respected elder. The transition is handled with the same grace that characterized your rise to dominance. There are no dramatic confrontations or humiliating defeats, just a gradual adjustment to new realities that reflects the natural progression of a predator's life cycle. Other dragonflies in the area adapt to your changed status with the kind of social sophistication that makes dragonfly communities remarkably stable despite their competitive nature. Your fifth season becomes a period of consolidation rather than expansion. You focus on maintaining the hunting skills and territorial holdings that remain within your capabilities while gradually ceding the more demanding aspects of predatory life to younger, more capable dragonflies. The process represents a natural passing of ecological responsibilities from one generation to the next. But even in decline, your hunting remains a masterclass in technique and efficiency. Young dragonflies still follow your expeditions, learning from methods that represent decades of refinement and adaptation. Your influence on the lake's predatory community continues even as your direct participation in competitive activities decreases. Your partnership with the resident female provides stability and purpose during this transitional period. Together, you maintain a small but highly productive territory that serves both your survival needs and your continued role as teachers and examples for less experienced dragonflies. The relationship has become the foundation for a new kind of existence that emphasizes cooperation over competition. As your fifth season progresses, you begin to understand that your transformation from aquatic nymph to aerial predator was just the first phase of a longer journey. The experiences and knowledge you've accumulated during your years of flying represent a form of wealth that can be passed to future generations through example and demonstration. Your legacy lies not just in your offspring, but in the techniques and strategies you've developed and shared. The realization brings a different kind of satisfaction than the intense rewards of successful hunting and territorial dominance. There's fulfillment in knowing that your innovations and discoveries will continue to benefit the lake's dragonfly community long after your own active participation ends. The knowledge transfer represents a form of immortality that transcends individual survival. Your final summer arrives with a poignancy that colors every hunt, every territorial patrol, every moment of partnership with your longtime companion. You know that your time as an active dragonfly is measured in weeks rather than seasons, but the approaching end brings clarity rather than despair. You've lived the life of a master predator, contributed to the next generation, and helped maintain the complex ecosystem that sustains all life around the lake. The hunting during your final weeks emphasizes precision and beauty over quantity and aggression. Each strike represents the culmination of years of technique development, each successful capture a demonstration of principles that will outlive your individual existence. Ooh. Your movements have acquired an almost ceremonial quality, as if you're performing rituals that honor the entire tradition of dragonfly predation. Your territory contracts to just the immediate area around your favorite perch, but your influence on the broader community remains strong. Other dragonflies still seek your approval for their hunting innovations, still defer to your judgment in territorial disputes, still follow your lead during challenging environmental conditions. You've become an institution rather than just an individual predator. The partnership with your companion reaches its final expression during these last weeks. She handles all the demanding aspects of survival, while you contribute specialized knowledge and refined technique to their joint efforts. The cooperation represents the ultimate evolution of dragonfly social behavior, a level of partnership that transcends simple reproductive cooperation to become true mutual support. Your final hunt takes place on a morning when the conditions are perfect: warm air, abundant prey, gentle breezes that make flying effortless. Seats. You select a target that would have been routine during your peak years, but now represents a significant challenge: a large fly that's feeding on flowers near the water's edge. The approach requires careful planning and precise execution, qualities that have defined your entire hunting career. The strike connects perfectly, demonstrating one last time the principles of timing, positioning, and technique that made you the lake's master predator. The prey is taken cleanly, efficiently, with the kind of precision that represents the absolute pinnacle of dragonfly hunting methodology. It's a fitting conclusion to a career that redefined what aerial predation could achieve. As you consume your final meal, perched on the reed where you've spent countless hours over the past several seasons, you're surrounded by the continuing activity of the lake's ecosystem. Other dragonflies are hunting, defending territories, engaging in courtship displays, pursuing all the activities that defined your own existence. The cycle continues, enriched by your contributions, but not dependent on your individual participation. Your partner remains close, a final acknowledgement of the bond that sustained both of you through multiple seasons of challenge and success. The partnership will end with your passing, but its influence on the lake's social structure will persist in the cooperative behaviors it demonstrated and the territorial strategies it perfected. The sun sets on your final day as one of nature's most accomplished aerial predators. Your transformation from aquatic nymph to master of the skies is complete, your contributions to the ecosystem secured, your legacy established in the techniques and strategies that will guide future generations of dragonflies. The journey from water to air, from vulnerability to mastery, from individual survival to community leadership, represents one of the natural world's most remarkable transformations. Your story ends not with defeat or failure, but with the quiet satisfaction of a life fully realized within the constraints and possibilities of your species. You achieved everything that a dragonfly can achieve, contributed everything that one individual can contribute, and demonstrated the remarkable potential that exists within even the most seemingly simple creatures. The lake will remember you in the hunting techniques of your students, the territorial strategies of your followers, and the genetic heritage of your offspring. Your body begins to shut down in ways you don't fully understand but can't ignore. Your wing muscles, which once responded instantly to every command, now feel heavy and uncoordinated. The precision strikes that defined your hunting career become increasingly difficult to execute. Your compound eyes, still sharp enough to track movement, can no longer coordinate with reflexes that have slowed beyond the margins of successful predation. The morning routines that sustained you through 5 seasons become laborious exercises in determination over capability. Rising from your perch requires multiple attempts as your legs struggle to grip the familiar reed stem. Your wings, once powerful enough to lift you effortlessly into the air, now beat with irregular rhythms that make sustained flight impossible. The mastery you spent years developing dissolves with each passing day. Your partner recognizes the changes before you're ready to accept them. She stops waiting for you during hunting expeditions, taking on the full responsibility for territorial maintenance and food acquisition. Her behavior shifts from cooperation to protection, positioning herself between you and potential threats that would have been manageable challenges just weeks earlier. The partnership evolves into caregiving without either of you acknowledging the transition. Other dragonflies in the community respond to your decline with behaviors you've never witnessed before. Instead of challenging your weakened territorial defenses, they maintain respectful distances from your diminished holdings. Young dragonflies who once followed your hunting expeditions now simply observe from afar, as if understanding that your teaching phase has ended and your final phase has begun. Your appetite decreases as your body's energy requirements drop to maintenance levels. The aggressive feeding that characterized your peak seasons gives way to occasional, small meals that provide just enough nutrition to sustain basic functions. Your digestive system, optimized for processing large quantities of prey, struggles to handle even these reduced food intakes efficiently. The territorial boundaries that once defined your identity become meaningless as your ability to patrol and defend them disappears. Your holdings contract not through conquest by rivals, but through simple abandonment as areas become too distant or demanding to maintain. What remains is just the immediate vicinity of your roosting site, a tiny fragment of the empire you once controlled. Your flights become shorter and lower, lacking the altitude and range that once made you a master of three-dimensional hunting. The complex aerial maneuvers that were your signature techniques are replaced by simple, straight-line movements that conserve energy while accomplishing basic positional changes. The sky, once your domain, becomes a foreign environment that's increasingly difficult to navigate. Sleep periods extend from the normal nighttime hours into substantial portions of each day. Your body seeks rest constantly, trying to conserve whatever energy remains for essential functions. The active hunting schedules that structured your existence for years give way to long periods of motionless waiting, interrupted by brief attempts at basic survival activities. Your partner brings you food occasionally, small insects that she places within easy reach of your perch. The gesture represents a complete reversal of the cooperative hunting relationship that sustained both of you through multiple seasons. She's become the provider while you've become dependent, unable to contribute anything meaningful to your shared survival efforts. The lake's ecosystem continues its seasonal rhythms around your declining presence. New emergences of aquatic insects create hunting opportunities that you can observe but no longer exploit. Other dragonflies pursue prey with the same intensity and skill that once characterized your own hunting, but their activities seem distant and disconnected from your current reality. Weather changes that once triggered specific behavioral responses now pass without significant impact on your reduced activity levels. Temperature fluctuations that would have prompted territorial adjustments or hunting strategy modifications barely register in your awareness. Your interaction with the environment has simplified to basic survival responses that require minimal energy expenditure. Your breathing becomes labored as your respiratory system struggles to process the oxygen needed for even basic metabolic functions. The efficient air exchange that powered your incredible flying capabilities deteriorates into irregular, shallow breathing patterns that leave you constantly short of breath. Simple movements that were once automatic now require conscious effort and careful pacing. The social dynamics of the lake's dragonfly community shift around your absence from active participation. Territorial boundaries that were stable during your period of influence begin to fluctuate as other predators test new arrangements. Your former holdings are gradually absorbed by neighboring territories, without the dramatic conflicts that might have occurred if you were still capable of active defense. Your partner's hunting success remains high, but her behavior suggests that she's preparing for eventual solitary existence. She spends increasing amounts of time away from your shared roosting area, exploring territories and establishing relationships that will sustain her after your partnership ends. The preparation is practical rather than emotional, reflecting the survival focused nature of dragonfly social behavior. Memory becomes inconsistent as your nervous system prioritizes immediate survival functions over the complex information processing that supported your hunting mastery. The detailed environmental knowledge that made you such an effective predator fades into fragments of recognition and occasional moments of clarity that briefly restore your awareness of the world around you. Your wing maintenance stops entirely as grooming becomes too energy intensive to sustain. The transparent membranes that carried you through thousands of successful hunts begin to show wear and damage that you can no longer repair. Small tears and worn edges accumulate without the constant attention that once kept your flying surfaces in perfect condition. The final territorial challenge to your remaining holdings comes not from aggressive competitors, but from simple environmental pressure. A storm damages the reed where you've roosted for months, forcing you to relocate to a less favorable position that represents the last displacement of your territorial career. The move exhausts your remaining energy reserves and marks the end of your connection to specific geographic locations. Your partner's visits become less frequent as her own survival demands take precedence over caregiving behaviors that no longer serve any practical purpose. The gradual separation reflects the natural dissolution of partnerships that have served their evolutionary function. There's no drama or abandonment, just the practical reallocation of energy toward activities that support continued survival. Sunlight becomes difficult to tolerate as your eyes lose their ability to adjust to changing light conditions. The bright morning hours that once triggered your most successful hunting expeditions now force you to seek shade and remain motionless until conditions become more manageable. Your activity window contracts to brief periods of optimal environmental conditions. Your grip on the roosting perch weakens progressively until maintaining position requires constant or conscious effort. The simple act of staying attached to your chosen resting spot becomes an exhausting challenge that consumes whatever energy remains available for voluntary activities. Every gust of wind threatens to dislodge you from your final territorial holding. The lake's insect populations continue their seasonal cycles, creating the abundant prey opportunities that once sustained your existence as an apex predator. But the hunting possibilities that surround you might as well exist in a different world, separated from your current reality by physical limitations that can't be overcome through technique or determination. Your body temperature regulation fails as your internal systems struggle to maintain the precise conditions needed for basic metabolic functions. The thermal management abilities that helped you survive multiple winter seasons deteriorate into simple responses to immediate environmental conditions. You become entirely dependent on external heat sources for maintaining viable body temperature. Consciousness becomes intermittent, with periods of awareness separated by extended phases of dormancy that serve no restorative function. Your brain's energy requirements exceed what your failing body can provide, leading to shutdowns that protect essential functions while sacrificing higher-level cognitive processing. The world fades in and out of focus as your nervous system prioritizes basic survival over environmental awareness. Your final morning arrives with conditions that would have triggered immediate hunting activity during your peak seasons. The air is warm, the light is perfect, and insects are abundant near your roosting position. But your body no longer responds to environmental cues that once commanded instant attention and aggressive predatory behavior. The end comes quietly, without struggle or drama. Your grip on the reed stem finally fails during a moment when consciousness has faded beyond the point of voluntary control. You slip from the perch that represented your last connection to the territorial existence that defined your identity as an aerial predator. Your body drifts toward the water's surface, following the same gravitational path that brought countless prey items within range of your strikes over the years. The lake that nurtured you as an aquatic nymph and sustained you as an aerial hunter receives you back without ceremony, completing a cycle that began when your mother deposited her eggs in these same waters years ago. Other dragonflies notice your passing, but continue their own hunting and territorial activities without interruption. The ecosystem that supported your remarkable transformation from water-bound predator to master of the skies continues its complex operations, enriched by your contributions, but not dependent on your individual participation. Your techniques and strategies live on in the behaviors of dragonflies you influenced. Your genetic heritage continues in offspring who will face their own challenges and opportunities. The reed where you spent your final weeks remains empty for several days before being claimed by a younger dragonfly who recognizes its value as a hunting perch. The territorial boundaries you once defended with such skill and determination are absorbed into new configurations that reflect the current capabilities and ambitions of active predators. The lake's social structure adapts to your absence with the same efficiency that incorporated your presence during your years of dominance. Your story represents one of nature's most remarkable transformations, from aquatic ambush predator to aerial hunting master, from vulnerable newcomer to territorial dominant, from individual survival to community leadership, and finally to the quiet conclusion that comes to all living things. You achieved everything possible within the constraints of your species, contributed to the next generation, and demonstrated the incredible potential that exists within even the most seemingly simple creatures. Life as a dragonfly might be brief, but there's another animal out there that has it way worse. Trust me, it's wild. Check out the video and see for yourself.